Greetings, my fellow philosophical thinkers. This is LL3 News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Monday, November 12th, 2018. So let us begin. Oh, sorry about that. Thanks for tuning in, folks. My, oh my, a lot of insanity's happening. I know everyone's talking about the elections, fraud, allegedly missing ballots, finding in paper bags, more trucks coming in out of the woodworks. Yeah, I notice a lot of stuff is happening, don't get me wrong, with economic issues in Europe still continues to dwell, and the fires out in California, which those folks out there the best, because it's really disturbing what's going on. Dry weather and progress, I could say too, can make an effect on those areas. Federalized lands, etc. So I make sure I try to look at all sides of the spectrum instead of like hearing one person say it all and go hallelujah, which a lot of folks are still on top of that, believing that one-dimensional praise. So mainly I'm going to be talking about the elections. And I have to admit one thing, my friends. I know I may have said it before. I'm enjoying every minute of it. I had a good friend of mine I knew for 26 years. And he brought that to my attention about how we discuss what can happen. And many of our colleagues around us, acquaintances, so forth, thought we were quacks, charlatans, crazies, and so forth. Now look what's happening. You can thank technology via internet for making it too obvious. They can't hide as much like they did 40 some odd years ago at the least. Gerald Celente made it best. Listen to the Alex Jones show years ago on his trend forecast for 2012. Of course, talk about the whole 2012 hoopla and all that. And talk about third parties maybe coming out of the woodworks, which is true. They are climbing, my friends. You should go to opensecrets.org. It talks about that November 9th article. Very exciting time to be alive. But one thing Gerald Celente said before he relieved himself is about the internet. And I always keep that quote in mind. This happened, like I say, about almost 7 years ago when he brought that up. And he made this one great quote. You may be watching us, but we'll be watching you. He's absolutely correct. Many of the watchers, the sentinels, or activists, regardless of political views, are actually networking with one another, including myself, which I find it very admirable. Honorable discussion is key, my friends. They want us fighting amongst each other, and they could be the heroes, not the individuals, private folks like you and I. Now what's going on with Brenda Snipes is nothing new under the sun. Her predecessor got dismissed by Jeb Bush, Oliphant, for not going by the rules, not complying with the laws. I will be talking about that as well. And that lawsuit, which Florida Governor Rick Scott filed a suit. It's supposed to be happening today, if I'm correct, about that as well. I'm going to have to go to the courthouse and check it out. I don't know where this lawsuit's happening, because I would love to hear what they have to say. I'd like to see Brenda Snipes' face, too. And ask her, how's it feel being a habitual offender, Miss Snipes? Ain't it great? If I was dumb and corrupt, I'd get more respect, right? Yeah. Nothing new at all. A lot of wind here. Ooh, too windy in here. Let me see what I can do. Alright, hopefully that's the case. But, yeah, so one thing you gotta look at is, like I told everyone at the very beginning, especially with the Gillum DeSantis race, don't believe the hype. Always remain vigilant. And it's interesting, too, because, I have folks that, whoever voted for Gillum or DeSantis, they ask me what's my intake on either of those candidates. And I let them know in good faith that they are candidates for the establishment. Regardless if it's George Soros, Sheldon Adelson, etc. That's one thing you always got to question. And I did brought up Article 4, Section 1 of the Florida Constitution, the governor's obligations. No magic wand theory, please. It's all hearsay. And, other words, inapplicable. Alright, enough of my digression. Yes, I'm in downtown Fort Lauderdale. A little windy out here. Observance for Veterans Day, so I thank all the veterans that serve. Pay homage to the honorable warriors out there. Wherever you're from, wherever you served. Never the wars, but you folks out there. And one thing I gotta say about, and many of them agreed, that the major wars are bankster wars. Always gotta look at those areas, read between the lines. What happened on September 11th with the war on terror is a horrific example. And it's happening now. Alright, enough of that. I know I repeat myself at times, but please forgive me. This one here came out today around 12 noon. Governor Scott's accusations against Broward election office do not yet convince a judge. It came out 12 noon on Sun Sentinel. Written by Susanna Bryan, David Phelps Flesher, and Ralph Almeida. Contact reporters. 12:50. Wow, it came out. It was in Lauderhill. Governor Scott accusations of shady activities at the Broward elections office failed Monday to immediately convince the judge who he saw insufficient evidence to assign more law enforcement officers to the elections office. Broward Circuit Judge Jack Tudor urged Scott's lawyers to tone down rhetoric that is undermining public confidence in the election and the vote counting process. If someone in this county has evidence of voter fraud, they should report it to their local law enforcement officer, he said. We need to be careful what we said. Words mean things. But appearance matter when it comes to assuring the public that the recount is being conducted properly, Tudor said. He ordered attorneys representing Scott Nelson, the Democratic Party, and others to negotiate an end to the dispute over whether the additional deputy should be assigned to oversee what's taking place at the Supervisor of Elections office, strongly hinting that he did not have sufficient evidence to grant the Scott campaign's motion. I don't think I have any evidence to enter a mandatory injunction, Tudor said. The Supervisor's office already contracts with the Sheriff's office to have multiple deputies on site, but attorneys for Scott campaign were concerned because they are indirectly under Snipes' direction. Yeah, remember, Broward County Sheriff is Scott Israel. And there was a claim that the Sheriff Israel and Supervisor of Elections Snipes do not get along. Interesting, right? So Tudor recommended attorneys agreed to open the elections office to 3 sheriff deputies who will report to someone other than Snipes. The court arguments came as a statewide election recount in Florida continued Monday with a new lawsuit filed and the court hearing the governor's recount request to have a ballot machines impounded by police while they are not in use. Scott Senate campaign filed a lawsuit Sunday against Broward supervisor elections Brenda Snipes and Palm supervisor elections Susan Bocher. Suit asked that the county sheriff's office and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement secure all equipment and ballots when they are not in use until the recount is over. On Monday, Bill Nelson's election campaign sued Florida Secretary of State Ken Dessner, claiming that the state is disenfranchising voters by not accepting mail-in ballots received after election day. 3 of the state's biggest races, governor, U.S. Senate, and agricultural commissioner, are not close enough to require a recount. Interesting there, right? Republican Attorney General Pam Bondi sent a letter to the FDLE and the state elections chief urging them to be vigilant for any violations of Broward and Palm Beach counties. She also urged FDLE to investigate Scott's claims of fraud, despite the agency saying it has no evidence of fraud. The recount of 700,000 votes in Broward, Florida's second most populous county, began on Sunday after a 3-hour delay caused by a machine that wasn't registering all ballots when it was tested. In Palm Beach County, Elections Chief Bocher said Sunday he doesn't believe her department will be able to meet the state's Thursday deadline to complete the recount. It's disappointing and unfortunate and desperate of the governor, Florida Democratic Party lawyer Mitchell Berger said Sunday afternoon outside the Broward Elections office. Scott's attorney had a front row seat before Broward County's canvassing board Sunday morning while election were calibrate the machines to make sure they were functioning in functioning order. Late Thursday, Scott's Senate campaign filed a lawsuit in Broward Circuit Court against Broward Elections Chief Snipes, accusing her of withholding too much information and demanding she reveals how many ballots were left to the count. The Democrats are challenging the calibration of the machines. Scherer told the South Florida Sun-Sentinel on Sunday they are saying it was a machine glitch to explain the undervoters in the U.S. Senate. In Broward, nearly 25,000 people voted in the governor's race and the U.S. Senate race. Some voters mistakenly overlooked it because on the way of the Broward ballot was designed with the Senate race in the left hand of the column and below the instructions. Their only hope of overturning this election is claiming there was a machine malfunction, Scherer said of Democratic leaders. Those ballots are blank, and there's not a goddamn thing they can do about it. Woo, sounds so manly, right? Scherer says he thinks some Broward voters overlooked the Senate race because of the poor design of the ballot. Ballot was laid out in an incompetent fashion by an incompetent supervisor of elections, he said. Scherer said even his own wife didn't notice the Senate race on the ballot. He had to point it out, or they were filing out in their mail-in ballots. Trying to figure that one out too, because always read observantly, carefully, my friends. Yeah. Scherer said, I already said that here. My wife did not see it on the ballot, he said. So I told her to look again. It's the first thing on the ballot. Berger fired back on Sunday. Before we even start the process, the Republicans chose to sue Brenda Snipes, he said. The outside room where the recount was underway. I don't know why anyone would want to create chaos right now. Berger defends Snipes and her staff, noting they were already under intense pressure and trying to do a difficult job in a difficult situation. Cynthia Bosch, chairwoman of the Broward Democratic Party, also took up for Snipes on saying people were being too hard on her. Don't be so hard on her. How dare you? Well, I'm going to explain why I'm making fun of this verse of the article, okay? Paragraph. There's a narrative on the other side wants to create about what is going on here. That's just not true, she said. As the recount unfolded, Republicans urged Democrat opponents to give up and allow states to move on. Scott said Sunday that the incumbent Bill Nelson wants fraudulent ballots and those cast by non-citizens to count, pointing to a Nelson lawyer, objected to Palm Beach County's rejection of one provisional ballot because it was cast by a non-citizen. He's trying to commit fraud to this election, Scott told Fox News. Bill Nelson's a sore loser. He's been in politics way too long. Well, a lot of people are not crazy about Rick Scott either in a lot of areas. So I'll be very frank on that. And even a person like myself, I didn't even vote for either of these individuals because I called them the Wonder Twins. So, hey, Rick Scott made some big foul-ups as well as governor of Florida. There are some controversies as well. And I'm not saying this on a partisan level. This guy always be careful what he signs. But it doesn't mean everything he signed I disagree with. So, and I've talked about some of the shows in my past as well. So we'll proceed here. Everything you need, so it says here, Larry Davis, an attorney for Democratic nominee for Agriculture, Nikki Fried, predicted it will take at least 3 days to complete the machine recount, even with staff working around the clock. They're predicting it will take 85 hours. Davis said, we are going to be here until all the ballots come through the machine. It's going to be morning, noon, and light. Election staff have more than 3.5 million pages to sort before they can start an actual recount. A task estimate to take up 35 hours, said Joseph D. Alessandro, Director of Election Planning and Development. Out of Broward's 714,000 votes, 299,000 ballots were cast in early voting, 226,000 were cast on Election Day, and 189,000 were mail-in ballots, D. Alessandro said. Florida requires machine recounts to be conducted in races that finished with less than a half percentage point margin. Palm Beach and Miami-Dade counties start their recount Saturday evening. Some other counties, including Orange, won't start until Monday. All county election officials have until 3 p.m. to complete the machine recounts. About 8.2 million total votes were cast in the statewide election. The views are an unprecedented step in Florida, a state that's notorious for election results decided by the thinnest of margins. State officials said they weren't aware of any other time either a race for governor or U.S. Senate in Florida required a recount, let alone both in the same election. Well. So, you got this one big cluster. And it drives, it's driving everyone crazy. And I got folks, too, from all walks of life. We're a part of Proud Boys, Trump supporters, socialists, progressives. They're all pissed off. Yeah, do I blame them? Hell no. How about the other ballots pertaining to the people that ran for Congress in some of these districts? And like I say, a good example of Broward County, 22 and 23. You had Nicholas Kamass running against Ted Deutsch, and you had, of course, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, which I can't stand dearly, Tim Canova and Joe Kaufman. Are their votes actually counted in good faith? This is why you have to always look at these areas, because I find it's very disturbing. All right, but I am laughing every minute of it as well. I remember when the black box ballots came out, it can be rigged. I knew about that. Hell, I learned about that after the whole hanging Chads ordeal. Here's the thing, my friends. They want to make Florida as a tyrannical target, a battleground. We got a bunch of snakes out there that want to rule all of us. In reality, we're not owned by them. That's what we say. We got natural-born individuals. We're not their peasants, numbers, or peons. They think you're so damn stupid. But I know many of you are not. So the thing about this case is lack of evidence. You have to go in there. It's like any other court. You don't go in there with your hands in your pockets. You be ready to go. You have to back up with facts. There's a lot of suspicious foul play going on, of course. And I'm going to talk about the history of Brenda Snipes. And I can thank one of my colleagues for sharing it on his Facebook page on this matter. And I'll do it right now. Alright, cool. Just had a little delay there. Okay, it says here, this is actually came from the Sun Sentinel, but it's been carbon copied or pasted from cable1.net. And they came out November 9th, but they was printed November 10th of this year. A look at Broward County Elections Chief Brenda Snipes' long history of trouble. When Brenda Snipes took office over Broward County Supervisor Elections in office in 2003, she was the figure with years of administrative experience and was steady in office that was reeling from what then Governor Jeb Bush called incompetence and misfeasance. On Friday, the following court agreeing with a lawsuit brought by Governor Rick Scott that Snipes had violated public records law. She found herself the target of a similar call for removal of office, and for the same reasons. For 15 years, Snipes has served as Broward County's elections chief with mixed results. Long lines and vote counts that continued along after polls closed in March elections in 2002, 2004, 2006, 2012, 2016, and of course this year. Among other issues, a court ruled she had broken election law when she destroyed the ballots from the 2016 elections 12 months after it, instead of 22 months required by federal law. Medical marijuana amendment was left off some ballots in 2016. Election results in the 2016 primary was posted on elections office website before polls closed, another violation of election law. In 2012, almost 1,000 uncounted ballots were discovered a week after the election. In 2004, some 58,000 ballots were not delivered to voters, leaving election officials to scramble to send new ones. And now, after days passed when Snipes could not or would not say how many ballots remained to be counted and failed to give regular updates to the state every 45 minutes as required by law, she was hit with a lawsuit by Scott's Senate campaign and the National Republican Senate Committee demanding she inform the public how many votes remain to be counted. And as I go on here, Snipes insisted she is making all sure all the votes are counted, and Democrats are asking for patience. But after years of long waits and unusual happenings around elections, Republicans say she is incompetent at best, corrupt at worst, and that she needs to go. Upon Scott's victory, of course, in court, U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz, a Fulton Beach Republican and ardent supporter of President Donald Trump, called on Scott to remove Snipes from office. I call at Florida Governor Scott to immediately suspend Brenda Snipes. Gaetz wrote on Twitter, she has failed to follow state transparency laws during this election and had a long history of misconduct, including preemptively destroying ballots. Although a North Florida Congressman Gaetz was outside the Broward elections office Friday, along with about 75 Republican protesters who chanted "Lock her up, bye-bye Brenda," and "Stop the steal," even the president got on the act, tweeting, "In the 2016 election, I was winning by so much in Florida that Broward County, which was very late with vote tabulation and probably getting ready to do a number, couldn't do it because not enough people live in Broward for them to falsify a victory." Trump won Florida by 1.2%. Snipes has not responded to any of the criticism and avoided media throughout the day Friday, exiting the elections office through the back door. If Snipes were to be removed by Scott, alluded to rampant fraud in a speech Thursday, she would be the second Broward County Supervisor election to lose a position due to be removed by the governor for poor job performance. Governor Bush removed Snipes' predecessor, Miriam Oliphant, in 2003 as a disastrous 2002 election, which polls opened late and closed early after experiencing the staff had been fired by Oliphant and be replaced by friends and acquaintances with little or no experience. I'm sorry. Oh, you're clueless. You're hired. Thank you. What can I do? Oh, you could be my shoe shop bellboy. Okay, thanks. Bush named Snipes to replace Oliphant, and Snipes won the election in 2004 and every 4 years subsequently. I'm trying to figure that one out. Why? Born in Talladega, Alabama, Snipes moved to Florida in 1964 with her husband as they began their careers as educators. Snipes started her career as a teacher at Blanche L.E. High School in Pompano Beach and eventually became principal of Robert Markham Elementary School, also in Pompano Beach. She retired in June 2003 and was appointed as supervisor of elections in November of the same year. The removal of Oliphant have been a political firestorm. When Republican governor, removing Broward only countywide black Democratic official, Bush replaced her with another black female Democrat, probably diffusing some of this tension. Yeah, race card. No, it can't. You gotta be. It can't be ethics. It's gotta be ethnic or racial. Okay, either the habitual screw up. We can't get rid of them because of what they look like and all that. Come on, give me a break. The idea then that Snipes could be removed from office without having committed a serious crime or ethical violations is not without precedent. But what would be unprecedented is for Scott to do so while Snipes is determining the ballot count in the race which the governor is running. Of course, Snipes could always be removed in a natural race through an election. She's next up for an election in 2020, but Snipes has easily weathered previous attempts to remove her from office in 2016, citing many past issues with elections during Snipes' terms of office. David Brenda ran against her in the Democratic primary. He even garnered the endorsement of South Florida's Sun Sentinel. He was defeated 76% to 24%. She had no opponent in 2012 and 2018. She had both Democratic and independent opponents, beat them both with more than 8% of the vote. In both 2008 and 2012, her opponents pointed the election's office history of failings under Snipes. She won anyway easily. So, yes, if I was a habitual screw-up, elect me. Yay! You're a criminal. We love you. Yay! Absolutely. In 2004, she won a three-way Democratic primary where 65% of the vote. One of her opponents was Oliphant. In a last-ditch attempt to get her job back. Oh, my goodness. It's like some form of repentance, right? The people decided the new supervisor was better than to return to the old one. They had been removed for incompetence, and Snipes never looked back. Well. So you can say whatever you want. I am not pleased with this person, and there's a lot of controversies in this as well. And the truth of the matter is, my friends, there is such thing as a recall vote. But nothing really be happening in 2019. However, I say everyone go after her in the primaries. A lot of the Democrats out there, give her the Nick Navarro treatment. Nick Navarro got ousted by his own members of his own party in 1992 when he ran for sheriff once again. However, Jim Howard defeated him. So, and of course, Howard lost the general elections. You have to look at that way as well. And even Scott Israel, there's claims he may or may not run for sheriff. But if he does, do the same thing. As far as I'm concerned, there should be a recall vote on that sleaze bag. Why? Because he's a habitual offender. And if you're a member of Homeland Security and a county sheriff, major conflict of interest. A federalized sheriff, I call them. And I'm not going to hold back on this either. So, my friends, here's the thing. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? That's the question. And you know what? I know one thing for sure. I did my vote. I know who I supported. Doesn't mean they're my masters. They're my servants. And you know what? If they screw up, if they would have got in, if they screw up, I'm not afraid to call them out. But the ones I voted for, looks like none of them really got in there. However, some of the amendments I voted for did, and I'm happy for that, 4 and 5 to be exact. So, like I said, my friends, how deep does the rabbit hole go, right? Is this organic or synthetic? Another false flag, election false flags, right? Yeah, I'll be the next to you conspiracy theorists, right? Well, it's good to know these things, and one of those areas you have to really read between the lines. So I'm just like, do one more here if I'm correct. This came out yesterday, right? Yeah, it came out yesterday. Yeah, fraudulent. Gillum and Nelson actually fighting for allowed non-citizen votes to count. This is from the Western Journal. And, you know, they got them good articles too. I'll be very fair. And it says here, it is by civilians Cillian Zeal. So you can officially party like it's 2000 and we're having a Florida recount. This time for the Senate and gubernatorial races. Get your Dreamcast out and put on Outcast's Stankonia while you play some NFL Blitz. It's Y2K again, baby. Of course, things change since the day of Hanging Chad, or a Hanging Chad as per Jack Tapper, who insisted that singular or plural of Chad are the same, and probably not the better. In fact, according to court records, lawyers for Democratic candidate Andrew Gillum and Senator Bill Nelson, both of whom lost during the first count, actually tried to get the vote of a non-citizen to count. The incident was first reported by Daily Caller's Luke Rosaic, who used court documents illustrated that lawyers for Gillum and Nelson, during a meeting of the Palm Beach County Canvassing Board, tried to get the ballot of someone who was not even an American counted. And there's a little rough draft here, and he put this on his Twitter account. Here are lawyers for Nelson Gillum directly arguing Friday night in Palm Beach that ballot by non-citizens should not be excluded. Interesting there. So it's a little rough draft. It says here, Michael Barnett, chairman of the Palm Beach Republican Party, told the DCNF that the county canvassing board was going through provisional ballots and quickly deciding whether to allow or disallow each. This exchange for the first non-citizens vote they encountered, the Daily Caller reported. This vow was disallowed despite the objection of the lawyers because 2 of the 3 members of the canvassing board ruled that it was impermissible vote. That's right, 2 out of 3. This was unanimity over whether a non-citizen vote ought to count. Believe it or not, things not somehow get worse from there. The lawyer who was present was not someone who we had authorized to make such an objection. Non-citizens cannot vote in U.S. elections, said Mark E. Elias, lawyer for Nelson. If the name sounds familiar, it should. Here's Mosaic describing him on Fox and Friends. You can look it up yourselves. Elias is a guy who, on behalf of Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee, hired Fusion GPS to put together the Trump dossier. The Hillary Clinton campaign and Democratic National Committee helped funded research that resulted is now a famous dossier containing allegations about Donald Trump's connections to Russia and possible coordination between his campaign and the Kremlin. People familiar with the matter said the Washington Post reported in October of 2017, Mark E. Ellis, a lawyer representing the Clinton campaign at DNC, retained Fusion GPS, a Washington firm, to conduct the research. After that, Fusion GPS hired how do you pronounce it? Dagier author Christopher Steele, a former British intelligence officer with ties to the FBI and the U.S. intelligence community, according to those people who spoke on the condition of anonymity. Ellis and his law firm, Perkins Cole, retained the company in 2016 on behalf of the Clinton campaign and the DNC. Before that argument, Fusion GPS's research into Trump was funded by unknown Republican client during the GOP primary. This isn't exactly a pleasant augury, particularly since the phalanx of lawyers are now descending on the Sunshine State. If we can't agree unanimously that non-citizens shouldn't vote, that's a sign something is seriously broken. And that's not good for either for our democracy and for the people of Florida. And Zeal is correct and in good faith. And like I said, it doesn't matter where these individuals are from. Don't use the Hispanic thing and all that because I find that irrelevant. You can have the same, you can be whiter than me with the same surname. So, hey, those are the rules. And Congress has that power of naturalization. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. Well. Interesting time to be alive, right? Absolutely. Whatever you do, folks, please don't cut your wrist over this. Stand up on principles. In the long run, you will win many battles. All right, that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us on your social media networks. Share the questions, comments, or something interesting you want to check out. Whatever you do, please send your correspondence. Send your correspondence with decorum. I will post all my social media sites and email addresses on my Spreaker page. All right, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.